This is Consenting Adults with Leyna Nguyen.
My guest today is 51-year-old Michael, who's known in the lifestyle as a bull with over 20 years of experience. He's been hosting lifestyle parties for the past 7 years in the New York City area, including Hotwife, Cuckold, and BBC parties. Probably not the BBC I was thinking about. He's going to explain it all to us. In trying to figure out his arrangement for his relationships, he told me he has a girlfriend and he has a slave. What are you talking about, Michael?
First of all, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here with you. When I say the term slave, you have to keep in mind that it's in the BDSM context. There are themes of dominance. There are themes of submission. It's a vast playground to play in, as far as tops and bottoms and daddies and littles. And, there are all kinds of things going on. And two of those components are master and slave. I guess the best way to explain a slave is it's an extreme form of submission where the person who is the slave has this desire to have more than just the sexual aspects of their lives controlled by, a dominant person. And that is the dynamic that I have. So it's not slave like I went somewhere and conked somebody over the head with a club. And, it's in a BDSM context. So those who are in the BDSM world, they'll understand completely what I mean. Those who are not, maybe it will inspire them to kind of do a little bit of research before they make a snap judgment.
Did I hear you say that it's more than just a sexual thing?
Yes, absolutely. You just have people out there in this world who are more comfortable when they are in positions where they don't have to make decisions. You know what I'm saying? Especially like life-altering decisions. Like it's much more comfortable for them to kind of have someone in their life whom they trust and respect, who they know is looking out for their best interests. Maybe it's someone who recognizes the fact that, I can be really impulsive and sometimes that impulsiveness gets me in trouble. So having this person in my life kind of helps me keep that under control. It's more than just what goes on in the bedroom. It's life encompassing.
Very interesting. What does your girlfriend think about this?
Oh, she's all for it. I mean, we're going on 10 years together now, so we've all had the opportunity to kind of settle into our position. And not saying that it's for everyone, but it works for us. You know what I'm saying? So we're happy with it, and we don't look back.
Is there any interaction between the girlfriend and the slave?
Not in the way that most people would probably be thinking. Their dynamic, I've kind of stepped back and kind of let it assume its own level. Over the years, it's taken on more of a maternal / older sister, younger sister dynamic because my girlfriend is 10 years older than my slave. I'm in the middle. I'm 5 years older than my slave. I'm 5 years younger than my girlfriend. It's kind of, that's the role that it's taken.
Is there any sexual interaction between those two?
Not anymore. In the beginning, there was, but like I said, as their relationship kind of sought its own natural level where their needs were fully being met, that's the position that it's gotten into. And I didn't want to interject my own wants or desires onto that. I mean, I have enough going on in my life where I don't have to force that on them. I just wanted them to get out of it what they needed most. And that's what their relationship has evolved into.
Okay. Outside of the girlfriend and slave, do you have sex with other people?
Yes, I do. I've been a bull in the lifestyle for more than 20 years now. But even though I said my slave and my dynamic is not limited to sex is a big part of it. And I also have a stag component to my personality where I enjoy seeing her with other men.
So you enjoy seeing your slave with other men?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
How about your girlfriend? Is she in the lifestyle that way?
She used to be, but because of some health issues, she's kind of taken a step back from that. So not so much anymore.
Okay, but she's completely fine with you doing your thing.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
All right. Okay, let's get into this. You've been a bull for over 20 years. How did that start? How do you differentiate between just a young guy living that wild life versus being a bull?
Well, in my opinion, and again, there may be people out there whose opinions differ. But for me, the difference, because I've been that, young guy kind of, going to the clubs and all that kind of thing. And there was a large part of my life where I was doing both simultaneously. And I would say the biggest difference in being a bull is When you're a bull, you are primarily interacting with couples. So when you interact with a couple, you know what it is, meaning there's no expectation of dating. It's not, hey, us getting to know each other and, or we're just platonic friends who, friends with benefits. It's not that kind of thing. When you're just young and out there, whether you're in the clubs or the gym or wherever, and you meet somebody, even though you may just be sleeping together, most times one of the two parties has expectations. Either the girl is looking for a boyfriend or the boy is looking for a girlfriend, or you're kind of test driving each other to see where it could go. Whereas in a bull dynamic, the couple is looking for something specific, a third, and you just fulfill that role. And once you leave their presence, they go back to their life and you go back to yours. Although friendships can develop, it's not always the case.
Are you providing a service?
I guess it would depend on how you look at the word service.
Well,
I'm not like a subcontractor or anything like that. But I mean, I guess in a manner of speaking, you could say I am. I mean, this couple has a fantasy and they're looking for someone who can make that fantasy a reality. So I guess in that sense, yes, I am providing a service.
I'm looking at your webpage, and I see that you have, for instance, a private site for couples to find verified bulls.
Well, it's something that's in the works. We're in the process of building
that
site. It's not ready for release yet, but it's in the process of being constructed.
Okay, so it looks like you're developing a business and you're making the lifestyle really your life. I mean, it's not just something that you enjoy. It's now your work too, right?
Absolutely.
Are you pretty open? Do all your friends and family know you do this?
Kind of, sort of. Here's well, no. As far as family goes, my mother and my sister know. As far as my friends go, I have enough vanilla friends from, my childhood and high school and college years, who some of them I still keep in touch with. But all the friends that I've made in the past 10 years have been lifestyle people. And that's by design. Like, I really have no desire to have any more vanilla friends in my life, because as far as I'm concerned, I have enough of those.
You have enough vanilla.
Yeah, I have enough of those. So I tend to gravitate and seek out people who are in the lifestyle, because I know there's more to them than just being in the lifestyle. It's just I don't have to hide that part of my life. Like, I still have the same conversations, whether we talk about movies or sports or politics or whatever. We interact the same. We go on trips. We go to ball games. We go out to restaurants, we go to movies, the same thing that you do with your regular friends. It's just, if they say, well, hey, Mike, how'd you spend your weekend? I don't have to come up with some elaborate story. I can just say, hey, well, I was with a couple Friday night, or,
right.
My slave and I went to a party Saturday night, and there's no big deal about it, So that's the part that I enjoy about having friends who are also in the lifestyle.
Yeah. Speaking of bringing your slave to parties, like, when you walk into a party, is it clear the kind of dynamic that you guys have? And do most people get it?
In the beginning, when we were new to the area and going to parties, like, we would get to the door and I would put her leash and collar on. So when we entered the room, people could see that. And the intent of me doing that was to kind of educate people. It wasn't to make a splash or be showy. It was, I know most people had probably never met, even in the swinging lifestyle or wife sharing lifestyle, I knew most people had probably never met a real master slave couple. Trust me, people had questions. People were curious. And I was more than happy to answer their questions, because I didn't want to be seen as a curiosity piece. I didn't want them to just kind of be standing on the other side of the room looking at us like we were weird or anything like that. I wanted to give them an opportunity to say, hey, I know you've probably never been around this, so this is what it is. This is what it really is. So feel free to ask your questions.
Now, did anyone ever think that, whoa, something's wrong? Like, this isn't right? I need to help this woman?
It happened a few times. There would be people who were not aware of it and rather just ask questions. They kind of made snap judgments. So there were a few instances where, during the party, somebody would try to steal her away to the bathroom and have like an intervention and try to, quote unquote, save her or rescue her, from this life that she was seemingly trapped in, which we always got a good laugh in. And I've talked to other couples that are heavily involved in BDSM, and, it's not uncommon. Unfortunately, there are people out there who they just don't know. And again, it goes back to offering that example so that people could learn, because so many people have a misunderstanding about what it is.
But in their defense, there are probably also women out there who are forced into some sort of, I've heard of lifestylers where like it's the guy's idea.
Mm-hmm.
The woman is kind of forced into it or didn't realize that she was going to a lifestyle party, that kind of thing. So it's not bad that they say, hey, woman, do you need help? It's just that you guys have a really different dynamic that even people in the lifestyle aren't too familiar with, right?
Yeah, but I guess my way of looking at it is, how many wives do you encounter who are in unhappy marriages? Do you offer your help? Do people offer their help to those women? Every marriage out there is not a happy marriage.
Right.
So do people see these women out and about and say, hey, you don't have to be with that abusive man? Or do they, in other words, do they inquire about that? Do they ask a wife if she's happy with her husband? Do they try to offer her a way out? In other words, are there bad BDSM type relationships? Absolutely. Just as there are bad and unhealthy marriages.
Yep.
So that's my way of looking at it. There's good and bad in everything.
Explain this cuckold thing to me. So you have cuckold parties?
Yes.
What is that?
Well, basically, what a cuckold party is it is a party that is built around themes that are common in the cuckold lifestyle. For example, they can go to regular parties, but they may have to dial down the volume on what they're into because other people may not be comfortable with it. For example, something common that you see in cuckolding, not exclusive to cuckolding, but it's a big part of cuckolding, is male chastity. If a couple goes to a regular party, the husband might not really make it known that he's in chastity because other people might not be comfortable with that. So they kind of keep that to themselves. Whereas when I do a party that is specifically for cuckold couples, then I encourage the husbands to show their cage.
Wait, cage?
Yeah, the type of male chastity is usually a cage that a man wears around his penis, and it locks it up. And usually his wife, who's referred to as a key holder, she'll have the key somewhere on her person. She may wear it on a necklace, she may wear it on an anklet, or she may just keep it in her purse.
Is that how you got the name of your podcast, the Keys and Anklets Podcast?
Actually, yeah, that is where the key part came in. The anklet more or less signifies like the hotwife aspect of it, because that's, it's a common symbol in hotwifing. The wife wears an anklet, maybe with a symbol on it to kind of show that she's available to other men. So yes, that is where the keys and anklets came from.
I am learning all kinds of new things.
Well, that's what I love to do.
I'm moving far beyond the pineapple and the black ring. So now anklets are possibly a sign of a hotwife.
Yeah. I mean, it's not, I wouldn't say that it's universal, but it is common.
When you say that you're holding, for instance, a cuckold party, so you've got cuckold couples that go there.
Right.
And I know many of them where the man won't do anything, won't take part. So who's taking part, Michael? The wife and who? And
the bulls. They're the couples there, and then there are single men there who fulfill the role as bulls. And they interact, they talk, they converse, and if there's chemistry, they may play together that night, or they may make plans to meet outside of the party. The parties aren't, at least my parties, they're not exclusively about people playing. For me, they're just a way of bringing like-minded people together, and the option to play at the party is there. Not everyone takes advantage of it, but most people do.
So then what's a hotwife party?
It's kind of the same thing, but you don't have the same emphasis on cuckolding. The emphasis on a hotwife party is more about the couples interacting with the bulls without the cuckold element being front and center.
Like no humiliation.
Yeah.
No
not
chastity.
Openly. Right. Not openly. Whereas at a cuckold party, you may have wives openly ordering their husbands around, the husbands being submissive to their wives, other husbands being submissive to their wives. To the untrained eye, you don't really see it at all. Whereas at a cuckold party, a wife may say, go get my drink. Whereas at a hotwife party, she may say, honey, can you please get me a drink? Just so that she doesn't appear like she's ordering her husband around, even though that's what they enjoy and that's their dynamic. they're really careful about not wanting to make other people uncomfortable.
Right. Okay. We need to move on to this BBC party because, I actually was on the BBC last week. And someone messaged me and they were all surprised. I'm like, well, what? I forgot that BBC also stood for something else. What are these BBC parties?
Well, it's an acronym for people that are in the know. It's short for Big Black Cock. And, in this lifestyle of various fetishes, there happens to be this fetish out there for women and couples who enjoy taking Black lovers. So a BBC party is a party that is specifically geared towards people who enjoy that particular fetish.
Is there like a typical person who does?
You mean typical as far as from a woman or couple standpoint?
Yeah.
Nope. Not because typical. I mean, I've seen them come from all nationalities, walks of life, economic status, and white collar versus blue collar. I mean, there is no typical. I mean, it's a little bit of everybody.
Okay. Now let me ask you about the cuckold parties then. These cuckold husbands. Like, if you didn't see them acting it out, would you be able to put your finger on it? Oh,
absolutely not. Nope. You can't. It's not like they have a predisposition or somebody could say, "Oh, I could pick a cuckold out." It's not like that at all. You would have no idea that this is what they enjoy. Another common misconception is that men who seek out this type of dynamic are men who
are weak,
who basically have no choice. Like, oh, well, if he was single, he wouldn't have any women anyway, so he has to kind of give his woman this kind of free reign because that's the only way he could get a woman. Mm-hmm. That couldn't be further from the truth. I could show you pictures of cuckold husbands and, you'd be like, okay, is he a model? Okay. I mean.
So it could be a man who in his, quote unquote, regular life is a successful businessman, strong-willed, all that. But in the bedroom, he likes something else.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. I mean, and that's the case a lot of times. I mean, a lot of these husbands are very successful in what they do. They treat their women really well. It's just their brain is wired in a certain way that this is what they enjoy. They enjoy making their wife feel like a queen and a goddess in every sense of the word. They want her to have the best of everything. And that includes sex. Mm-hmm. And if they feel like that's an area where they may come up short, they don't want her to have to settle. They want her to get the best of everything. And so, cuckold husbands are probably some of the most unselfish men you will ever encounter, because when they say it's all about her, they're not just paying lip service to it. They really do mean it, and they live it every single day where it's all about her.
As a bull with like over 20 years of experience, can you kind of give me a list of the different situations you've been in? It's not always just another guy wants to see you with his wife, is it?
Well, there are different scenarios because in my particular world, there's some overlap. Every woman who goes to a BBC themed party is not a hotwife. We get single women as well. The common thread at those parties is that these women all enjoy, playing with Black men, and some women enjoy playing with groups of Black men. So going to a party is a way for them to get to have that and to get to experience that without going through a lot of hassle to get it. Everybody's in one place. She's able to scope the guys out and kind of vet them right there, as opposed to trying to set up date after date after date after date after date. So there are some single women that I play with as well. So it's not always in a couple sense. Sometimes I play with single women as well.
Have you ever been approached by like a lesbian couple, like two females?
I've heard stories about it, but it's not happened to me personally yet.
What is the wildest thing? And I'm sure it's always hard. It's like, it's kind of like karaoke where a lot of songs. And then when someone puts you on the spot and says, what's song you want to sing? And you can't come up with one. But what is like, one of the wildest things that you've done in the lifestyle?
Oh, wow. Yeah, you're putting me on the spot with that.
Are you straight?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Meaning you've never had or won't have sexual interaction with other men?
I mean, straight in the sense that I don't find men attractive and there's no sexual desire there. Now, in a cuckold capacity, I've had the term is fluff. For those that don't know, I've had a husband and a wife suck my cock. But in that dynamic, at least how I reconcile it in my brain is
it's just another mouth.
Not just that. I'm just saying it's more of a power dynamic. You know what I'm saying? Like it's not. There's no sexual energy in it at all, or at least not coming from me. And one of the ways that I kind of joke about it is I tell the wife, if that's going on, I don't care how bad you have to go, but don't get off the bed. Don't get off the bed, because once you remove her from the equation,
you're not into it.
Then that power dynamic, that energy of the situation is drastically altered. And now it's something that doesn't interest me.
Interesting. So really, it's something that you're doing to fulfill their fantasies.
I mean, I guess you could look at it that way. Like I said, for me, it's a power dynamic. And it has to be in front of her so that she can see what he's been, for lack of a better word, what he's
forced
been reduced to. I don't want to necessarily say forced to do. Sometimes it's forcing, but even in the forcing, it's still like a fantasy thing. It's still
right.
basically a mind fuck. But it doesn't work the same. Like that same energy is not the same if she's not there.
Sure. So you've had group sex, yeah?
Like when you talk about like a massive people, like couples and
like a bunch of people.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I've done that. Group sex, gangbangs, trains.
Ooh, what's a train?
Well, usually when people think of a gangbang can be a woman taking on multiple guys, but it may be in small groups. She might be taking 2 at a time. Some women are able to take 3 at a time. Whereas a train is more, it's still multiple guys, but it's her taking one guy at a time.
Oh.
One guy will get in when he's done. The next guy, like a train. Next guy will get in, he's done. Next guy, so on and so forth. Whereas a gangbang, there's usually some kind of multitasking going on.
Yes. Okay. So a train is actually different from like a daisy chain.
Yeah. Daisy chain, to my understanding, is everybody is connected in some way, shape, or form at the same time.
Literally.
Yeah. Now, this is a regular train. This kind of train is different from a daisy chain.
Michael, you are just a treasure chest of information. I love it. Let me ask you, so, you do all this. How would you feel like if your girlfriend was still into it and wanted to play with other people? Would you be okay with that?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, when we first started this, she was, I mean, the way that I feel personally, just because of that switch that I have in my brain, to be perfectly honest with you, I couldn't see myself being with a woman who didn't want to play with other people. Like it's just not what I'm interested in. Mm-hmm. I'm not criticizing other people, but non-monogamy is it's not for me. And it's not just me, it's for my partners as well. So that's just the way that I'm wired.
Does your slave have sex with other people?
Oh, absolutely. Mm-hmm.
Oh, she does?
All the time.
With your permission?
Well, yeah, I mean, but that's our dynamic.
Right. Do you have any fantasies that haven't been fulfilled yet?
Honestly, no.
Really?
Well, and here's why. When you've been doing it as long as I have, and you kind of have that dominant energy about you,
You get what you want?
Well, it's not so much that you get what you want. It's that you're not afraid to ask for what you want. You're not afraid you're not afraid to speak on it. Like one of the things that I've often said about dominant people, whether it's a dominant man or a dominant woman, I think one of the traits that's extremely important to have is you have to have this throw shit against the wall and see what sticks mentality. In other words, you can't be afraid to hear the word no. Mm-hmm. You can't be worried about how it's going to make you look or if somebody's going to judge you for it or whatever. And so when you get to the point where you're comfortable, not just thinking like that, but carrying yourself like that, you learn that what is a fantasy? It's just something that you haven't done yet. Okay, well, why haven't you done it? Is it because you haven't asked for it? Is it because you haven't tried to do things to make it happen?
So you pretty much have done it all?
Everything that I wanted to do. I mean, one thing I haven't done yet that I would like to do, I'm not a member of the Mile High Club. I think that would be cool to do, but
of all the things that you haven't done?
That I haven't done. The opportunity hasn't, the opportunity just hasn't presented itself yet.
Right. If we could go back for a moment, when we're talking about cuckolding, is there a female equivalent? to a cuckold husband?
There is. I mean, it's not as common, but it's she's referred to as a cuck queen.
Oh, okay. I've
And-
heard that. I've seen that. I always thought that cuck queen was just someone who controlled the cuckold.
No, that would be the
Oh.
cuckoldress.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh. Michael, I got to
Yeah.
sign up for classes with you. Okay, so a cuck queen is the female equivalent. And what does that look like? It's kind of the same thing where she's not allowed to do anything or...
Well, that depends on their dynamic, but I guess in a nutshell, she derives pleasure from her partner being with other women, and sometimes it can take on the same subtle tones of humiliation that can exist, not always, but can exist in a cuckold dynamic.
Mm-hmm.
Her body is better than yours. Her pussy gets wetter than yours. She fucks me better than you. Like, there are certain women out there who, they enjoy seeing their partner getting that, from another woman right in front of them.
Right.
I mean, there are a lot more subtle nuances to it.
Sure.
I've known a few. I look forward to meeting more because it's something that I'm really fascinated about, but it's definitely something that I'd like to educate myself more on so that I could speak more, from more of a position of knowledge
Right.
based on what I've actually seen and witnessed versus a hearsay kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Wow, you've just got all of this information. In addition to all that information, you also have these fun parties. Where can people find you?
Probably the easiest way to find me is through my website, which is keysandanklets.com.
And clearly you see yourself doing this like for the rest of your life.
In some capacity, I guess as the saying goes, find a job that you like and you'll never work a day in your life. Well, this is what I found. I do my podcast full time. I have other projects in the works, and, I see no reason, to stop. I figure if Dr. Ruth can keep it going as long as she did, there's hope for me.
And here's hoping Michael continues to do this for as long as he's able. Thanks for being on the show, Michael. All right, next time on Consenting Adults, two married women meet and then fall in love with each other. So they divorce their husbands, get married, and explore the lifestyle having sex with other men.
Some people prefer, they want, a penis in each hand and one in their mouth and one in their anus.
I think there's actually a name for it. We can shock her with this.
Ooh.
What is it called?
Is it called?
Oh,
Airtight.
That's it.
That's next time on Consenting Adults.